And with that, a couple of things that we are going to discuss today. I just want to go over our 3.6 release that we'll be having starting tomorrow. Talk about what's changing in FEMS with the 3.6 release. Talk about some changes that we have in the portal, and then looking into the future, what new development we'll be coming up with as we go forward. And then I want to leave quite a bit of time here for questions and answers as we go forward. Just a quick sound check, thumbs up. Everybody hear me okay?
Clear.
All right, thanks. All right, so I'm going to do a screen share here so I can walk through what we have moving forward with FEMS. So this will be having the 3.6 release. Everybody got my screen share? You should be seeing the map of FEMS. Is that correct? Just a thumbs up. I have to make sure my internet's not too slow. You guys seeing the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so FEMS looks a little bit different on what we have right now. So just wanted to go over what we have here. So with the 3.6 release, which we'll be doing tomorrow, when you log into or when you get into production, you should be seeing that there is a going to be a small outage while they do the release. I'm sorry, of 3.5 tomorrow. And so I think they usually try and get that done first thing in the morning for those that it may impact. With that, several changes will be occurring. First off, we are now getting an ingest of the Mesonet stations for certain areas across the east. Primarily, we will be bringing in the Texas Mesonet, Oklahoma, and Kansas, as well as North Carolina and parts of Maine. Those networks will be brought in, and we will be displaying hourly fire, weather, and fire danger information for those stations. We will not be displaying information for West Texas and New York. You will see that those are dots right now with missing data. The reason why those are showing is we just haven't turned them off yet, but you'll be seeing those dots will be disappearing. You won't be having all that blank data going forward. So what that means is, so we're working with some of the Mesonet. So what a Mesonet is, for those familiar with it, a Mesonet is a for-profit network, usually owned by a university or a state organization, that provides weather stations that meet NFDRS standards. They're different than RAWs, and some of them are for-profit, some of them are not, and they're giving us they're allowing us to utilize their weather data to produce fire danger information for their local land management agencies. So that's what a Mesonet is. How it used to ingest was once daily, a local station, the station managers for those areas would produce an FW13, send it into WIMS, and give us their observations and their forecast information for those sites. And now we are working directly with Synoptic to ingest their information. Synoptic has gone through with the work of Chuck Maxwell, and they are now doing a hourly summarized data set that we are getting from Synoptic. And we are getting the forecast information from NOAA. We have added them into that, and we are also getting our snow flag the same way we received from DRI. So those two systems are the same, and then we get the hourly weather data from Synoptic, and then we summarize that, and then we produce the fire danger information. So a slightly different network, slightly different way that we get the data. Instead of WX weather, it comes through Synoptic, but the calculations are all the same that we move forward with those stations. We do not have a period of record for these stations, so you will not be seeing a seasonal trend graph at this time for these stations. It will just be calculating hourly fire danger. The reasons why we do not have Oklahoma and West Texas in here New York and West Texas in here just yet is because, again, it is a restricted network and they are for profit, and they do not want their data being available for download at this time. So we're working on it now to move forward with development for these restricted networks to have them shown as a daily max and daily min values only. So it would be a once daily value for both weather and fire danger going forward. So in our next future releases, we will be switching these restricted networks to a once daily value going forward. That will not hold for Maine or North Carolina or the Texas networks. Those will all continue to be hourly information. It's just the few that are fully restricted that do not want to display that information or have the download information available to all users. So that's what we're moving forward with for the restricted, for the MesoNets going forward, what they are. And this was really kind of a good test bed for us if, other networks were able to bring in, if that may eventually be a suitable path forward or not. So this was a good way for us to bring this in, but it really helps out with availability or being able to, fulfill, I guess, some of the requirements that we had in from WIMS now being available in FEMS. So how you get there is when you bring into the maps page, you can go into the filters. We have added in here has historic data and does not have historic data. For those stations that have historic data, again, our period of record, those would then display seasonal trend charts. So this is a new add-on. And then we also have in here the networks that you can filter by. So you can have just filter by RAWs, ASOS, or MesoNets. You can see that I have these just filtered by the MesoNets at the time. And again, we're not calculating fire danger for New York or West Texas. So we won't be seeing a lot of those. And well, those, like I said, those dots will be going away going forward. But any information right now, again, as always, is fully available for visualizations and downloads. Again, we do not have the historical information for these sites as of yet. We may get those sometime in the future, but it's yet to be determined. So questions on the ingest of the MesoNets and display of fire danger for these. It's been countless hours of working with them. So yeah, Ben.
Hey, Scott, related to an email I just sent you just about calculating fire danger. Do all those stations have 20-foot wind speeds, or are they like 2 or 3 meter or 10 meter? Like what is that something you could still ingest if it's got, something other than a 20-foot wind speed for calculating fire danger if folks wanted that?
Yeah, good question. So for ours information, we have converted, it's based really on the network. And so that was one of the big pieces of work that Chuck Maxwell had done with us, is really going through individual data types, what stations have which measurements and where, and then doing a assessment to understand and if we needed to, doing a conversion for these to make sure that they are all at the correct sensor height for the NFDRS calculation. So no, not all these sensors are at the correct sensor height. Not all of these stations, most of them are not doing just a hourly report out. They are usually on a 5, 10, 15, 20-minute report. So we had to do a lot of conversions and data summarization between those to make all of that happen. So you can't just take the raw data itself from the networks because everybody, and if you are within the Forest Service, you have access to at least the non-restricted networks. But you can take the weather information from FEMS because we do convert it to meet NFDRS standards. So again, this is where I think it's really important for everybody to understand is that there is a difference between raw data and the data that we have in FEMS because we use it for a very specific purpose, which is fire danger, which is different than if you just want raw data to do some sort of different climatology on just pure weather, because Ours is made for fire danger. So hope that answers your question, Ben.
It does. Thanks.
Yep. Other questions on the meso network that we have coming out in 3.5? Okay. Let's see here. So as I said, you can start now utilizing the filter information to see which stations have, because I know that was one of the general questions that we'd been getting more recently was, hey, I just want to see what stations have a seasonal trend chart. If you click on the has historic data filter, these will be all the stations that have a historical period of record and have a seasonal trend chart. So hopefully it'll make things a little bit easier for individuals who just want to see those stations going forward. So we are also working on, and we're hoping actually in the next, within the first week or two of the new year, we will be getting an extended POR. We're in the process of ingesting that right now, which will include a cleaned up data set for 2023, 2024, up to November 1st of 2025. So that will give us a QC data set. It will gap fill. So for those individuals who had stations that went down for part of this year, the sensors were off, any of that we'll be going through. We went through the exact same QC process and gap filling with DRI, and we are getting that up to November 1st of this year. And we will also be doing then recalculations. What that's also good news for is for stations that did not meet the prior cutoff of having 3 years of historical data prior to the original cutoff, which is 2022. So basically from 2019 on, if your station was basically newer than 2019, we did not have any of that historical data brought into FEMS. We are now going to be bringing that in. So you will now have stations that have at least a 3-year period of record from 2025, so back to 2022. So any station that is older than or newer than 2022 will only have its current, data set that we have when we started first ingesting. It won't go all the way back to 2022, but for any of those stations, 2019, 2020, 2021, that you weren't seeing your historical information, that will now be all being brought into FEMS starting the next, like I said, I'm hoping by the first week of January, we'll be having that fully ingested and being able to start showing that information. So trying to expand our data history that we have, expanding, the station history that we have for at least for the RAWS network again. So I know there have been quite a few questions about that going forward. So look for that coming up hopefully fairly soon. Let's see, other information that we have going on, or the majority of the rest of the majority of the work that was completed in 3.5 has to deal with station management and actually catalog management. So when you go into here, you can see what the catalogs are in these catalog settings. We now have the availability for the FEMS admin group to be able to go in, create new catalogs through the UI, edit established catalogs, and assign stations and move stations around from catalog to catalog. So that will be able to give us that availability to start working towards a little bit more of the localization that we've talked about. Going forward, that will automatically produce a recalculation of the entire system once that's requested. So once we do change a catalog setting, it will recalculate the entire system, as opposed to WIMS when you had to set a date range for it to do a recalculation. It was really hard for it to grab the entire data set. So ours will do that. It does a queuing process, so it will not do that until midnight. So if we calibrate it, 5 in the afternoon, you come in the next day and you'll be seeing the newest seasonal trend analysis. We will not be doing any changes to any of the national catalogs at this time. We won't be making any wholesale changes without requesting or without a request from the field. So don't expect us to be going in there and making any adjustments unless it is going to be requested, and there will be a process to go forward on how to get that request filtered up. So that's the other piece that we really spent, or that the developers have been spending quite a bit of time on, was the national catalog, or the catalogs, and editing catalogs. Let's see here. The downloads was also adjusted. So in your downloads, when you originally selected your forecast, and if you want to do hourly, you were able to select a date range beyond where the forecast actually existed. So that will not, the system will not allow you to do that going forward, that you won't be able to get an hourly forecast beyond the date range that we have a forecast for. So you can, that will stop as we start going forward. Let's see here. And then we also have in field sample, we had there were a couple of issues, or one issue at least, with the samples. When you were adding a new sample site in there, you could add duplicate sites. So you could have a site with two different names, even if it was within a different geographic area or anything like that. We have now stopped that. So if you're within the same geographic area, you will not be allowed to have two sites with the same names going forward. So those were the updates that we have to 3.5. Again, that will be coming out tomorrow. And so expect a small time for data outage tomorrow while that 3.5 is moving forward. Questions on 3.5?
Hey, Scott, Steve Vollmer.
Hey, Steve.
Going with the field sample thing, you stated you can't have the same name as an existing site. Is that nationwide or is that region-wide?
I believe it's actually it's at the GAC level.
Okay,
So
perfect. Thank you.
Yep. It's either GAC or group level. I have to verify which one that is. So if it's not working for you, let me know. We can always adjust it. How's that as well? But I will definitely find out what that is. So, or what level we have that structure set at. Other questions on 3.5? All right, now I need a participation. Who's got a station with some missing data, like recently? And give me a number or a name.
I've got that long hollow station in Elko, Scott.
Oh, perfect. All right. Perfect. All right, there we go. So we've got all this missing data. So this is going to get into what we're looking forward to in the new year. So this has been an issue, obviously, since with WIMS, users had to go in there, verify information, and then type in what they thought the values would be, and then do a recalculation and do all that manually, right? So again, we know that once we start missing more than a day worth of information, we really drastically impact our 1s, 10s, and 100-hour fuels. We start missing 3 days of values, and we impact significantly our thousands and all the rest of the values, and they pretty much get shot out the window after that point. Now that once we've gone to the hourly calculations. So we need to be able to figure out a way now to be able to get this data without having to impact users, and that will consistently produce a reliable output for us, or reliable inputs, so that we can continue with getting a consistent outputs going forward. So the process that we are moving forward with is there's two individual areas that we continue to work on. One is our tolerance levels for gap filling data. So if the wind sensor is correctly working, I should say, in giving values, but it's providing values of 150, 200 mile an hour winds, and there hasn't been wind, we need the system to be able to recognize that that value is outside a certain tolerance level, and we need to then be able to get a data corrected information or wind speed from the gridded weather source. And that's going to be what's called the IRMA data weather, or IRMA grid, which is something that the Weather Service utilizes to really feed the other models to produce our forecast. And so it's taking some of the observations, assimilating them, and then producing really that gridded point information of what's considered an observation for that area. So that's when I say we're pulling off of the grid, that's what we're pulling from. So how we're going to move forward with this system is, we have our system currently, when we see missing data such as this, and I'm still screen sharing. Yeah, so when we see data missing such as this, our system goes back to WX weather 3 times. So it'll go back for right now it goes back for 3 days, and it'll look back for a 3-day period and say, okay, was it missing, or is it just that WX weather hadn't gotten it yet? And it will then produce the weather. If WX weather then determines that, yeah, it does have it. If it does get, populated in WX weather, we will then fill it in, and then we do a gap fill. But after this time right now, we then just produce blanks, and you get the dots, and you have missing data. The plan is, at that point, we're going to shorten that time span up of actually only having it a 1-day gap. And if it doesn't produce information, we are then going to be reaching back in the DRI or WRCC will be producing a file for us, very similar to how they produced our gap-filled QC data set prior to this, but they're just going to be filtering it to a small segment of 2 or 3 days at this time. And we are going to then have our system grab any of the known missing data and populate it, and then do a NFDRS calculation automatically. So we're working on the timeline of this. It seems to be it'll be a 2 or 3 day process. So every 2 or 3 days, it'll go back and grab the prior 2 or 3 day history if in its missing data. So you won't be seeing this. You shouldn't be seeing these missing data sets once we get this fully implemented, which will be, hopefully we're going to get this fully implemented by, mid-spring timeframe, or sooner. So that's one of the next steps that we have, is to try and handle these missing inputs on a calibrated method, that's been, and something that is not going to be impacting the users to have to go in there and get the data manually. And so hopefully that'll help answer some of the questions and provide a better NFDRS, your observations and forecasts going forward, because we won't be having these large gaps in data. One of the things that we are going to make sure we also do is notify, or not notify, but we'll be flagging this information that it is gap filled, so that users know that this is not an observation. This is coming from a different data source than an observation. So we haven't figured out how we're going to visualize that just yet, but just understand that we will be doing, or we'll be notifying, or at least having a visualization, I should say, that shows that these are it was missing and it's gap filled information. So that's one of the next pieces that we're going into. Station management is another piece that we're going to be working towards. And station management is being able to turn on and off stations. So if you have a weather station that is, consistently missing, a large area of data, or if it goes out and you're like, hey, I just don't even want to see it, I don't want you producing any fire danger information, you can notify us. We can turn off the visualizations of both weather or fire danger, or both. And that will, at least so it's not visible to users to be seen, to being assuming that they have weather data or information coming in from that station. We'll be able to start having it so we can manually enter when WX weather gets a new station. We'll be able to have it so that we can then start having the visualizations come up sooner rather than later. I know it's been taking a little bit of time to get those input, but we'll be working on a process to get that all input on that user metadata side so that we can have the ourselves take care of that. Yes, Steve.
Yeah, so for that scenario, if we're out on an incident or if we know that a station has received damage, but there's still some sensors that are working, but they're not providing correct information, is that kind of the process that we would go through in order to get that removed from the from FEMS for the time being until those sensors and things get replaced?
That's correct. Yeah, so you just call us up and say, hey, turn this one off. We don't want it to, there's different ways if we can do this. We can turn it off from even calculating fire danger, so then we wouldn't do that, but we'd be ingesting the weather if it comes. We can turn it off from even weather ingesting. So there's going to be a bunch of scenarios that we're going to be able to turn it on and off in those mechanisms, and we haven't gotten all of that fully developed yet at this time. Like I said, we're just talking about the general plan of how we have that, but we can do all of that station management. So yeah, if you have an issue like, yep, yeah, Scott, here, turn this station off. We don't want it calculating fire danger anymore, and turn off the weather for the time being. We can just click a button and it'll be off. Correct. Let's see here, and I forgot where I was going on the rest of this one. So yeah, so fire danger information, or how we're getting the gap filled weather, and then also how we are getting and missing station information or missing weather information, and then station management and station dealing with stations that we need to either turn on or off or manage the station information that way, at least as far as fire danger. Again, remember, if there's metadata changes that need to be adjusted, those really needs to be handled through WXX, and you guys can do that at any point, and we are updating that station metadata at any time, even right now. So again, if there's a lat long change or something like that, or it's wrong, that needs to be handled through WX weather, and that will continue to be managed through that way. We don't want to have two sets of information between the two systems. WX weather is the authoritative data set for the stations. So those are kind of the two next, at least, features that we're working towards right now, as far as development in the near future, and how we are going to be spending our limited development team and having them go forward. We also have in here I guess the next couple of developments is in the tables. When you click on a station, you only have fire danger table. We are going to be expanding this to be able to have a weather table in here as well as a forecast, so you can see that in a table format, and being able to have that easier visualization going forward. So there's a couple of the quick kind of enhancements that we're working on for the new year going forward. So questions on any of that?
Hey, Scott, it's Wyatt. Just
Hey, Wyatt.
Listening to you there. I'm guessing that probably anything to do with PAL, if PAL visuals is probably a little ways down the road still yet then, if that's
So yeah,
still on your track.
It's still on the ideas. So where we're going forward. So the analytics part of FEMS is still a discussion point of how this is all going to come together. And the calculation for PAL is again getting into an analytics place where it'd be the same with trying to produce or calculating fire danger, calculating staffing levels and all of that information. We need to understand, I guess, with all of the secretarial orders, memos that are coming around, the intern ops, all the BLM information that's happening, all of that surrounding pieces. how is that going to play into where FEMS ends up in the big picture? And so we're moving forward with, at this time, until some of those larger questions get answered, we're moving forward with what we can control, which is, and what we know we need to get done, which is the data piece and handling the data and making sure that we've got solid data sets going forward. Then once all those other questions get determined, or at least solidified out better, then we can move towards, if we're going to, we start producing analytics, or is that going to be better handled into some other platform, where it be like IFTDIS or WFDIS, or do we integrate into that, or do we maintain our own, or how do we, yes, it's a different piece and part of that. So there's different pieces, and I guess there's different ways that we have had discussions on displaying the analytical portions. Parts of that are because when we start getting into the analytics of this, oh boy, I apologize. When we start getting into the analytics of this, we need to also be able to bring in fire occurrence data sets, and then we get into which fire data occurrence set do we bring in, whose do we bring in, how do we get all the data sets in from the different states, since there's different recording area or different records for different agencies. So we need, there's a lot of, I guess, background discussion pieces of that, and that's my long answer to a short question there, Wyatt. Sorry. So, but I want to give you the full background.
Sounds good, Scott. And obviously with the FEMS transition, our website became fairly obsolete, and so it's been a question. Just thought I'd bring it up again, make sure it was still kind of on that page for hopefully at some point. So appreciate it, Scott.
Yeah, can you point to the new, like, I thought Kristen had that so that she could point to the new website or to the FEMS, or not?
Well, she's got it. I believe she's got it set up where it's pointing to the right direction. The problem is it doesn't calculate right anymore, and we didn't get funded to be able to make that switch over, and so that's why it's become obsolete. And I was also getting to the point of where I had requested funding, and I would rather invest funding to you to have FEMS be ready to go if that was an option, rather than doing that website. But anyways, that's something you and I probably talk about another day.
Yeah, let's definitely set that one up, Wyatt, for next year, if you don't mind. So get something on, throw something on my calendar, if you don't mind, for the first couple of weeks in January. Let's hit that one up. So
Perfect. Thanks, Scott.
yep. Okay, other questions on future development for FEMS as of right now, the short term? All right, additional pieces. Oh yeah, Nikolai.
So going back to the Irma backfilling stuff, has there been any study of how reliable, especially like for wind, that's gonna be? Because in my past experience, I've seen some issues with the way Irma does wind right now.
So that, on our part, I have not directly. FEMS isn't doing that. We are working with the Weather Service to help us better, and DRI to help us understand and let them do the analysis of what is the best gridded, to pull from. We know we don't want to do, the what is it, near real time? I forgot what that one is. That grid source. Or that grid of data, but we're working on, okay, what is the best one that we can do? And again, trying to understand how those work, especially, again, even with precip. We know the weak points of those systems. We know it's weak, but we also know it's better than not having any data, and or having it something where it's not even known where it's coming from. So I guess we're just going for the 80% solution at this point, saying this is the best that we have at this time, even though we know it's not perfect.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
Hey Scott, are y'all still working on the KBDI issue, that known issue where it's not calculating correctly?
Yes. So yes, so we have the next again that will be in our early, it'll probably be in a late January or early February release. We are doing a deep dive into the code. We did find that KBDI issue. We know what the correction is. So we will get that applied into the next release. The other part of that KBDI issue is the annual precip that we had. And again, the gap filling that occurred in the historic POR. And that is especially that we've been seeing that, across the east, but I think there's definitely a subset of stations across the west as well, where the drizzle effect of the model overrode like some of the really higher end rain events, and it didn't show up. It wasn't representing, which is why we were seeing, we should be having an annual precip value of around, like 30, 40 inches a year. And some stations were showing like 4 or 5 inches because they were missing an entire, year's worth of weather data or, precip for that station. So then it pulled from the grid. So that would be, again, even where Nikolai comes from about, hey, is it the best data set that we have? No, it's not. But DRI is working on getting that updated as well. And so we are working to try and get that newer precip historical data set built in, hopefully by next year, so that we can update those precip values for those stations. And that should take care of that precip or the KBDI issues that you've been seeing, as well as the, how the historical and how the current KBDIs are absolute values are occurring. So
Okay, good deal. Yeah, some stations are functioning fine and some need some work. So good to hear that.
Yep. Yeah, I know. I had a discussion with somebody, I guess it was down in Arkansas. They've got a few stations over that way, our Kansas area, that it seemed, I kind of looking at a general view, their KBDI values were dramatically different between even fairly close stations. That particular piece that I have not gotten into because, looking at the inputs, there were dramatically different rainfalls for certain events, just between stations that were near each other. And, from the way I was viewing that is I can't really adjust and what the actual inputs are for that station. If it's one station is showing 3-4 inches of rain and the other was showing a 1/4 inch of rain, of course you're going to have a dramatic impact on your KBDI values going forward. But why that's occurring in that local or in that area, I can't tell you. I know we're just pulling in the data from WX weather, and if that's what is being reported or recorded in the system, either there's a faulty sensor or something else is happening that would be driving those types of drastic changes between those stations. But I don't have a good answer for you on, it's calculating all the same. There's nothing different between those stations. So
yeah, that group of stations kind of went the other way. They didn't get rain and the KBDI went down. So it's kind of the opposite of what we've been seeing. So yeah, I'm going to look into that one a little bit further.
okay. But yes, it's on my radar to keep digging into the KBDI issue. So, and making sure that we've solved that. That'll be probably most of my January, February timeframe. We'll be making sure that we can get those values populating properly for you. So,
Yeah, sounds good.
yep. In the meantime, remember that KBDI is a value that can be obtained from many different sources as well. So if this is not populating a great KBDI for you, one, it's not dramatic. We've taken KBDI out of any of the impacts from any of the other NFTRS outputs. And so it's a standalone value. So if you need to grab it from a different source for the time being until you feel that this is working better, there are other options out there. So,
Yep, tenfold. Thank you.
yep. All right. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. And wanted to show you. All right, one other thing. You guys have my new, you got the FEMS portal showing up now? The Wildland Fire Application Portal? Or is it still on FEMS?
Showing the portal with FEMS
All right.
down in the middle.
Okay, so just wanted to give a quick thing. I'm probably gonna get handcuffed or something for this at some point, but for right now, until it gets ruined, we have in here the general information, and then under additional reference information, you have the FEMS additional reference materials. And so these are all of our office hours that I've been recording. These are all now posted here. So hopefully this is attached to the NIFC site. So hopefully everybody will be able to get and view the office hour videos going forward. So we'll get these continually posted to the site. And I'm really hoping that this is my my end solution until I'm told to take it down. But for now, let's go with it. So there you go. So I know that's also been an ask for quite a while. I finally got some time and a little bit of energy to dig into this one, so you can review all the office hour videos that we have. So other than that, just reminder that, we have redone this site as a whole. Lots of additional information going forward here, and we'll continue to update this site with new information as we get it. Trying to keep this as that single sole source information for NFDRS, as well as all the FEMS information going forward. So yeah, my contact information here, as well as Travis for state of Minnesota, and he's our SME for for NASF, and then Cheryl Bright is our POC SME for the DOI agencies. So other questions in general, I'm just going to kind of open up the field to see maybe out there in regards to FEMS or NFDRS going forward.
Hey, Scott, I got one.
Yep.
You mentioned that there's now, the little radio tab for the has historic data and does not have historic data. Will that allow the use of IRAWs and portable RAWs stations to be placed into FEMS now? So you can select does not have historic data?
So IRAWs and portables are there's quite a bit to that. So that also comes down to what is FEMS. Are we going to display weather, or are we doing fire danger calculations? Historically, IRAWs never calculated fire danger. And so the question always comes into, okay, are we going to just bring in and ingest weather stations just to show weather data? Right now, yes, that there is one way to manage it that way. The next one would be actually in our station management piece, where we'd say, hey, don't calculate fire danger, and this one's never going to calculate fire danger. It's only going to be a weather display information. We would be able to do that type of information. Right now, we don't have plans just yet to bring in portables or IRAWs at this time, because we aren't planning to calculate fire danger for those. I know that also brings into the question of, hey, I have a portable RAWs that I've been utilizing for this place for years because I am utilizing it as calculating fire danger, and we used to have that in WIMS. But it's hard on our side to know which stations are considered portable that we should be calculating fire danger for, and which ones are portable that are just there for a short time period and won't be calculating fire danger at all. So continuing, how about yet to be determined? But yes, it is a feasibility for us to be able to do that.
Copy that. Thanks.
Sorry, don't have a better answer for you, but that's the background discussion around portables. I wish it was a clean answer. How's that?
Check this.
Other questions? Quiet group. I'm surprised so many people showed up right before holidays, so I'm pretty impressed. I was actually going to cancel because I was running out of daytime, but yeah, Richard.
Yeah, just curious, as far as the weather for analysis and Fire Family Plus, I forget the exact date, so my apologies, but are we still should only be using the 2008 to 2022? Are we now good to use 23, 24 for that stuff?
Right now, I would stick with the through the 2022. So whatever your begin date is to 2022, I would recommend still sticking with that for the time being, until we get that POR in there. And again, I wouldn't. You will see some differences if you do add 23, 24, 25. But again, it's going to be very minimal on the amount of information that you really see, or percentile changes if you do change that data set. But again, it's our recommendation is just stick with our current POR until we get a fully updated different POR, and we'll let you know when that comes around, and if that's the next year or two. But right now, again, recommendation is to stick with where we're at.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right. So I will be, let's see, I think I have a call in mid-January. So I plan to host that one still as well. Let's see here. I just want to make sure I'll be around for when the next one is. 21st. No, I am either going to need to move or cancel the one that we have on January 21st, but I will have the next office hours calls that I have will be January 27th. So I apologize, bit of time lag here between when we are going to be having these updates. It's just the way my schedule is lining up over the next month, and I apologize about that. But if you have questions in the meantime, please reach out to me. I will be out of the office until back on January 5th. So if between basically this afternoon or later tonight, and then if you really, really need me, you got my cell, give me a call. Otherwise, we will talk to everybody in the new year. Have a great holidays, everyone.
Thanks, Scott. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah.